I do live in Vancouver, BC, which is a sort of wood center to be coming from British Columbia. It's certainly Canada and probably North America's biggest producer of timber right now. But point of sort of history, I spent 8 years living in New Haven. My former wife was doing her PhD, and I lived in New Haven for a long time practicing as an architect, so I have a Yale connection in that way. The story I'm going to tell is about wood and where it's going, and I'm going to go pretty quickly. And I'm going to start here, stay out of the way as much as I can, and see if you guys recognize this building as I go. We were asked recently, hopefully you guys can see this, to do a little exercise, to look at how tall a wood building could go. And we were asked by a Finnish company named Metsä whether this would be possible. And the really exciting thing is I've been working with this idea of building tall in wood for quite some time. Some of you may have seen my TED Talk that now has been seen over 1 million times to talk about the future of tall wood buildings. And when we were asked to do this, I honestly didn't know if we could or could not go this tall. The Empire State Building is 102 stories tall and obviously made in steel. And what we found is absolutely we can go this tall. We did the preliminary engineering based on, I'm not going to go into any of the technical things, but based on running steel cables through the middle of box beams made out of wood that are very similar to concrete, but allow us to actually carry the weight and support the loads, the wind loads especially, of a building that's super tall. This is possible. Will we do it? I don't know. Should we do it? I don't know, but it's possible. So the thing to think about, is this weird if I crouch down? Because I want you guys to all see this and just listen to me, and I'll crouch down here. So the interesting thing is, of course, we've gone through this amazing evolution in wood. Wood has been with us since the beginning of building, and we've gone through traditions. Out here in New England, you see 300-year-old wood framed houses and barns that are timber framed, and these amazing sort of evolutions. In fact, this is my office in Vancouver. It's a 105-year-old, 110-year-old wood structure that's 6 stories tall, actually now 7 stories tall. Something that your codes here in the United States, and until recently our codes, didn't even allow, and it was built 100 years ago. So the technology to build tall has always been here, and it's beautiful. But we've had to reinvent and rethink what that means to build tall. So we're progressing through these stages now to buildings made out of what are called mass timber panels, to buildings that are increasingly tall. And I'm going to show you more and more of this as we go into what will eventually be highly automated sort of 3D printing, I think, of wood fibers that are going to move architecture to a completely different realm in the next 20 years. So the big deal is we're talking today about bigger buildings. We're talking about urban scale buildings. 50% of us live in the city, 75% of us will live in cities worldwide. We need to move to building wood in big buildings. And so we talk about tall buildings, and we talk about changing the society's perception of what's possible. So steel and concrete are the way we build today. Mass timber panels, gluing wood together into these large structural panels, allows us to completely change how we build. So now we have these different ways of building. We have a new menu as architects of what we can actually build out of. And it's not just about doing tall buildings, it's about doing more buildings. So I'm going to show you really fast. I'm going to go hammer through these different projects of ours. This is an 8-story building. It actually, till recently, maybe even still, is the tallest wood building in the world. It's in British Columbia. It's an entirely wood structure. After you leave the ground, there's no concrete, no steel. Okay, the foundation is concrete. It's called the Wood Innovation Design Center. Even on top of the floors, there's no concrete whatsoever. It's beautiful. I won't show you the technique. Here's some recent photographs of it. So we've just opened this up. And it is a school teaching the future of wood design. Tends to be what we do. We're doing a new forestry school for Oregon State University that's about the future of these products as well. So again, imagine being in a building that's entirely of wood and how different it is to actually work in a building that's beautiful, it's warm, but most importantly has a much stronger sustainability story with a renewable resource that of course sequesters carbon dioxide, which is why we do it. In Minneapolis, we're doing a project that's just started construction. That'll be I think the largest for now, just for now, wood building of recent note. And it's going to be nail lamps. So we actually just take small dimensional wood and we nail it together to make these very large structural slabs. So the thing is, moving quickly along, we've got all these announcements happening every day right now around the world Now, in the United States, the announcements are just beginning right now. But in other countries, especially in Northern Europe, Central Europe, and Canada, we're talking about buildings that are proposed at 18 stories, 14 stories, 24 stories. Studies that we've done at even bigger, and I'm going to show you 35 in a second here. So at 30, this was a solution that we proposed for Cornell on Roosevelt Island here in New York. They did not listen to me. It is my alma mater. But imagine that. That's 30 stories in wood. So absolutely technically possible, but we have to shift society's perception of what's possible because we haven't seen a new way to build a skyscraper before this in the last 100 years. It's tough to change the construction industry, but it's happening. In Paris, we just proposed this to the city of Paris. It's 35 stories tall in wood. It's even bigger. It's a whole series of different social housing, a student hotel for 600 rooms, student hotel. It's got a bus station. It's got restaurants, supermarkets, all these different uses right on the edge of Paris, not in the heart of Paris where you don't want a tall building. And unfortunately, Paris has recently told us we're not allowed to build this because they want no tall buildings in Paris. So sadly, we're not building this, but we just found that out. But again, it's possible. So the last two slides I'm going to show you, last couple here. I run a school as well as my practice. We partnered with the United Nations FAO on a big competition, international competition with students and practitioners around the world. The competition was for a tall building in South Africa, in Durban, South Africa, where we had the Congress just 2 weeks ago and where I selected the winners, and also for affordable housing. We had 240 submissions from 60 countries around the world interested in designing tall wood buildings. It's a third of the world's nations already engaged in this conversation on the design side. This is coming, it's inevitable, and we have to do it very safely and we have to do it right. Whether we get here, I don't know, but my dream is we're going to go from this to this, and from this to this. Thanks.